Hello and welcome to another fun-filled edition of Adam's Music Box. So today I want to talk about one of my favorite bassists of all time. And if you ask any musician around, they will probably tell you he's on their list as well, if not at the very top. And this is Tony Franklin, the king of the fretless. Now, what's a fretless? Non-bass players might be asking. Well, you know those little, for lack of a better words, lines you see on the neck of a guitar or a bass. Those are called frets, and they're kind of similar to keys on a piano in the sense that they're indicative of where a note is, assuming the strings are properly tuned. A fretless instrument, well, you've seen them, a violin, a viola, a contrabasso, an upright bass, a cello. These are all string instruments that are fretless in the sense of the neck does not have these little thingies on them. It's just a smooth run up to the machine head at the top of the instrument. Now, basses can be played either way. Technically, guitars can too, but almost all guitars are fretted. But with basses, the fretless electric bass guitar is something that is familiar to a lot of bass players who might have grown up studying or playing the upright bass, the acoustic bass. But while the early bass guitars, the electric basses tended to have frets, by the 70s, more and more people were going fretless because it has an interesting sort of smoother sound, is the best way I can describe it. But you know it pretty much the moment you hear it, even if you're not a musician. And Tony Franklin was someone who absolutely pioneered that fretless sound. Of course, other great bass players of the era were doing it too. It became increasingly popular. The virtuoso Jaco Pastorius frequently played fretless. Pino Palladino, a great session guy, would often play fretless. Tony Franklin, though, brought fretless into the world of traditional hard rock, where it wasn't always as welcome as it was in jazz fusion, in other kinds of jazz, in R&B, in funk, in pop. I'm not saying that it's not ever in rock or hard rock, but less so than those other genres. But Tony proved that it could be played in a hard rock, a traditional, classic, if you will, hard rock environment, and it would sound great. And the band where he did this most notably was a super group called The Firm, which formed in the mid 80s. They only had two albums, but both albums are perfect. And when I say supergroup, you'll see why. Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin, Paul Rogers from Bad Company and Free, Chris Slade from Manfred Mann's Earth Band, AC/DC, and many others. And then, of course, Tony Franklin playing that beautiful fretless bass. And the sound that he gets out of his bass is just, it's instantly recognizable. And it's so cool. And in many ways, it added another dimension to an album or to two albums that would already be great because of great writing, great guitar playing, great drums, great singing. Paul Rogers, you can't go wrong. But to me, what made these albums so uniquely special was Tony Franklin's bass playing. And in that sense, he really owned those albums. So check those out. He's probably best known, apart from that, for all of his session work. And my God, he's done a lot. Still one of the most in-demand bass players in the world. And he's still a relatively young guy, so well as he should be. He played a lot with Roy Harper, did other stuff with Jimmy Page. He's played with Tony McAlpine. He's played with the great Glenn Hughes. He's played with everyone. Gary Wright, one of my favorites he's played with. So definitely check out his session work and check out The Firm, and you'll hear straight away the difference between a fretless bass and a more traditional fretted bass guitar. As always, like, subscribe, and we will see you next time. Take care.